throws he was making. Now, some of them were good plays by Louisville. They got some athletes up there for the Cardinals. But the first one, looking for Malachi Toney down the field, just throwing it into triple coverage. And it was a heck of a play by the DB to get his hands on it. But Carson Beck kind of turning back into a pumpkin. 4 interceptions in that game. And Miami, who looked like they were going to cruise into the college football playoff, drops all the way down to 9. And in the ACC, 10 wins probably gets you in, but it's not a lock. And they may have to run the table the rest of the way to feel good about their chances to get into the college football playoff.
I predicted Georgia Tech to make the ACC championship game in the preseason. I'm so happy right now. But whomst have thunk it that Georgia Tech and Virginia would be in the driver's seat for the ACC championship?
Right.
It's truly crazy. The parity in college football this year, it's so beautiful because it's truly anybody can beat anybody on any given Saturday. The problem with Miami, Carson Beck looked like Carson Beck from last year in terms of Georgia was very one-dimensional last year because they couldn't run the football to Georgia standard. Like they ranked in the hundreds in all the important rushing statistics. And then with Miami, one of their strengths was they were able to run the football very well because they have one of the most dominant offensive lines in college football. Well, they didn't run the ball at all versus Louisville. So that put all the pressure back on Carson Beck. And when you force Carson Beck to throw the football as much as he had to in order to win the game, that's when we see him start to turn the ball over and get greedy.
Yes, and 4 interceptions. They win the game if he just throws 3 instead of 4. Like it was bad. And Miami dropping to number 9, another inexplicable loss there. Not that Louisville's not a good team, but that's at home. You got to win that game. And Miami now, I wouldn't say backs against the wall, but you're in a spot with a whole lot less cushion than you were heading into that game against the Cardinals. The Big 12 is kind of wide open now with Texas Tech losing. You thought the Red Raiders were the favorite. They were 7th in the country. They dropped to 14. BYU is now 11 after winning the Holy War on Saturday. You've got Cincinnati's entered the top 25. Arizona State's back into the rankings. So the Big 12 and the ACC are a mess. The SEC doesn't seem to have a dominant team. So you're going to see a whole lot of chaos for the rest of the college football season. It's awesome. And I did see a texter. I've lost it, but we were talking about Vanderbilt and talking about how awesome it is that college football's evened out. There aren't superpowers who can't be beat anymore. You're not seeing teams run the table and go 15-0 to win a national championship. It's tough to get through a season without slipping up once because these big schools don't stash their 4 stars on the bench anymore. If you recruit an elite player out of high school and he doesn't play his first year, odds are he's hitting the portal and he can go help somebody else out as an instant impact player. It's made college football so much more fun. Ricky on the text line says, Notre Dame at 12 is still wild to me if the Vols are 17 with 2 losses. To be fair, Ricky, though, like the 2 losses for Notre Dame are both the top 10 teams. Miami maybe hurts the strength of record a little bit, but A&M is undefeated. They're 3rd in the country. Notre Dame, they've got to win out, and they did beat USC by 10 in South Bend on Saturday. They have to win out. They cannot lose again. A 3-loss Notre Dame doesn't get in. But I think right now it doesn't really matter where they're ranked. They're going to it's all about whether they can get to 10 wins or not. And
absolutely. Yep.
We'll see. With Tennessee, yeah, you lose to Alabama on Saturday. That was always going to be one of those games similar to Vanderbilt when they went down there of if you win it, great. It puts you in a huge spot, but in a huge advantage to get into the college football playoff. But they didn't need to win it. You do lose that leeway of only having 1 loss now. So Tennessee pretty much has to run the table. You got some tough, I wouldn't be surprised if they're favored in almost every game they play the rest of the year, but that doesn't mean you win the football games, right? Like
Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, Oklahoma, I think will be close. That'll be close to a pick 'em in Neyland Stadium. Florida, we'll see. Billy Napier's gone. Do they get an interim coach bump with Napier finally out the door? I don't know. That game is on the road just before you have Vanderbilt at home. Vandy's going to be a tough game. So Tennessee, they have their back against the wall. I don't think a 9-3 Tennessee gets into the playoff, but you still have everything you want right in front of you. Dustin from Hopkinsville, thank you. It was him who talked about college football evening out. Dustin is one of our most prominent texters during our show, so I didn't see it. I had to scroll all the way back. But yes, college football is wide open right now. And are there 20 teams who have a chance at a national championship? No. There's probably still only 6 or 7 teams tops that can actually go win 3 or 4 games to win a national title. But you look at these rankings, there's 20, 25, maybe even more teams that could get into the college football playoff right now. Who's going to cannibalize each other? Is the SEC going to end up with 6 teams at 9-3, and you have to judge those teams against maybe a 10-2 Miami out of the ACC, or a 10-2 Cincinnati or Texas Tech? Like that's where you're going to be at the end of the year. And I do not envy the committee, because I think there's going to be some tough decisions that have to get made about who gets left out and who gets in to the college football playoff this year. Vanderbilt has put themselves in a playoff spot if the season ended today. And we don't have the CFP rankings yet. That comes out in 2 weeks, will be our first one. So Vandy, if they take care of business against Missouri, puts themselves right in the thick of things to be a top 10 team in the country again. Can they do it? Can they go get a college football playoff spot? We'll have to let the games play out, but the path is certainly there for Clark Lee and his Commodores. Game day is coming to Nashville on Saturday for the first time since 2008. Huge news. We're going to talk some game day on the other side. I heard Robbie and Joe say, why would we talk about game day? Let's talk about the actual games. I'm excited for game day being on West End. So we're going to talk about it a little bit on the other side. If you have a guest picker for the Commodores, get that into us on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, 615-737-1025. Who do you think should be the guest picker for Vanderbilt on Saturday?
I got a good one.
Okay, I've got one too. We'll get to it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Final hour on this Monday morning. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Vanderbilt, 31-24 winners over LSU on Saturday at First Bank Stadium. The Commodores are 6-1, and College Game Day is rewarding Vanderbilt with their first show on West End since 2008. Game Day will be in town as Vandy takes on Missouri in a top 15 matchup. Parker, again, we said about Vandy and Indiana being top 10 teams. Try saying those words out loud. Mizzou at Vandy. Biggest game on the weekend. Game Day coming to Nashville. Awesome to see how this program is growing. And, Missouri, a year I think a lot of people thought they were going to be down, has been very impressive this year too.
I'm very happy that the AP decided to get their head out of their bahunkus, because Vanderbilt, if you watch them play, I mean, they're playing like a top 10 caliber team right now. I'm very happy for Vanderbilt. Very happy that Game Day, they were at a Vanderbilt game, but now they're coming to Nashville to see Vanderbilt, and it's going to be electric. I know Vanderbilt is going to show out. Pat McAfee posted something yesterday because he's a big advocate for the city of Nashville. He loves coming to visit. So very, very excited. I know the energy is going to be there.
Yes, and I know it was between this game, Vandy and Missouri, and an FCS game, because North Dakota State, South Dakota State, top two teams in the FCS are playing. And there are times when there isn't a huge FBS game and they want to go give credit and give some flowers to the FCS. But with a chance to come to Nashville with what Diego Pavia and Clark Lee and Jerry Kill and Tim Beck and this whole organization and program is doing, I'm glad that they're rewarding Vanderbilt fans with Game Day, and it's going to be a ton of fun on Saturday. Guest picker. We asked for some thoughts. Who do you think it should be for Vandy? So we've got a couple on the text line for Dirks Bentley, and I kind of like it. He's a Vandy grad, and I think he's a football guy. He's around Nashville. Actually, he came out and performed at Post Malone's free concert on Broadway a couple weeks ago. So I think that would be a good pick. Here's who I'm thinking. I've got two. So actually, Parker, you go first. Who are you thinking for the guest picker?
Nate Bargatze.
Okay, that was one of the two that I was thinking of, and I'm leaning that way. The other one is what Jeremy in Clarksville sent in, the Vandy Pimp from SEC Shorts. And the reason I lean Bargatze is because he is a tried and true Vanderbilt fan. Like, that dude has never wavered from being a Vanderbilt fan. I think the guy who portrays the quote-unquote Vandy Pimp for SEC Shorts, he's got the crown and the scepter and the cape, and they actually brought him for, what game was it last year? South Carolina. They brought him for the South Carolina last year, and he was dancing all around the stadium. I get it. It's kind of one of those funny things that Vandy fans have embraced, and he was on the Jumbotron while they did Shout on Saturday, but he's not a Vandy fan. Like, I think he's an Alabama fan, if I'm not mistaken. I think that group of SEC Shorts, I think they are Alabama people. So I would understand going that direction, but I think Bargatze is the guy, right? Like, he is a nationally known comedian, hosts SNL, has Netflix specials, who is a diehard Vanderbilt football fan. I think it's got to be Bargatze. I believe somebody looked it up, and he's doing a show in Cincinnati, if I'm correct, but at night on Saturday. So we'll see if the scheduling works out. I don't think that would be a conflict for him to be in Nashville and still get back for his show at 7:30, somewhere around there. So I think it's got to be Bargatze. We should find out in the next couple of days, but that seems to be the only real option. Unless you go former player, like 6641 says Jay Cutler. I don't know if I can see that. Like, Cutler,
that's not going to happen.
Cutler is not like the face of the alumni for Vanderbilt. So I'm not thinking it's going to be Jay Cutler. 0178. How about this one? He says Willie D. Let's get Willie Donick up there to be the guest picker. He could do that and get over for the Preds game on Saturday night against LA. I like it. It's got to be Nate Bargatze or Willie Donick, two of the greatest Vandy fans of all time.
we, we should start the campaign to get Willie Donick
Willie
as
Donick
the
is the
guest
guest
picker
picker.
on game
Here
day.
you go. 1025 The Game is calling it right now. We want our own Willie Donick, the voice of the Predators, to go and be the guest picker on College Game Day on Saturday. 615-737-1025. If you have thoughts on game day coming to Nashville, and who do you think could be the guest picker? I mean, Vandy hasn't had game day since 2008. There's plenty of great options out there. Here's one from Clay in the Borough. He says Tim Corbin. And if you're going to go with someone currently affiliated with Vanderbilt, I think that's where you go. You also have some options for former baseball players, right? I know Dansby Swanson was in attendance
That would be a
on
good
Saturday. One. Maybe David Price. Like, could that be a spot you go to, former Cy Young winner? Baseball could be it could be the well that they go to with how good that program has been for so long and the type of talent that they have. I think it could end up being Corbin or one of his former players.
Yeah, I don't know. Nate Bargatze just seems like the clear and obvious answer because he's grown so much in popularity over the last few years. He's hilarious. He's a tried and true Vanderbilt fan, born and raised in Middle Tennessee. It just makes too much sense.
He was the guest picker, and I appreciate 835 for letting us know, because he did suggest Dirks Bentley. He did say Nate Bargatze has been a guest picker before, and he did it in Tuscaloosa for Alabama LSU. I guess they kind of just took a comedian. Same thing they did with Theo Vaughn. He wasn't exactly a Alabama fan. In fact, he was kind of a Vandy fan. But I think Bargatze's the easy choice, but they could definitely go baseball. They could definitely go with maybe a former football player if you want to go back and get somebody. But I think Bargatze's the easy one. It could be the Vandy Pimp. It really could. But I would lean Bargatze. Chip from Mount Juliet says Willie Donick is not a celebrity nationally. Let's change that. Let's put him out there.
Let's do it. Let's get our guys some popularity.
We are mostly kidding. 0178 says Pavia's mom. How funny would that be? Have they ever done a family member of a player to be the guest picker?
You know what? They've done a family member of a coach.
Yeah, right. They did. Miss Terry. ESPN might have to pay a ton of FCC fines if they do it, but let's just get the whole Pavia clan up there on the desk and have all of the brothers and his younger sister and let's have all of them up there on the desk. 615-737-1025. Vandy getting game day on Saturday. 6943 says Brant Snedeker. Snedeker was actually there. He did the anchor drop on Saturday for the LSU game.
I remember that. Yeah. I feel like he's been on game day before, like a long time ago.
He might have. I mean, he's a well-known golfer. Maybe not one of the elite guys, but he's been a winner. Here's a good article from the Tennessee, and this is Aria Gerson has 8 that she is thinking of. And actually, I lost it, but she did mention Brant Snedeker. So I think he's an option for sure. There are some good spots. Bargatze is the obvious one. Can he make it work is the question. Derek in Goodlettsville says Clay Travis. Clay Travis likes to go to war with ESPN a lot. I find it hard to believe that they're going to just be like, hey, why don't you come on our biggest show that we have on College Game Day? So I doubt it. But he is a Vandy grad. Lots of good options. I lean Bargatze. I think if it's not Bargatze, it's either the Vandy Pimp or baseball related. I think that's pretty fair. Outside of that, I don't know really where you would go, but I think it's going to be one of those 3 options. Bargatze, the Vandy Pimp, or Tim Corbin / one of Tim Corbin's former players. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can continue to get your picks in. We'll take right answers. We'll take wrong answers of who you think the guest picker is going to be for Vanderbilt's game day on Saturday. We'll continue to preview Vandy and Missouri on the other side. Plenty to talk about all week long as the Commodores get ready for another huge top 20 clash, trying to get to 7-1 before hitting the road to Austin to start off November. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. Next man up, 105 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, alongside you on this Monday morning. Titans fell yesterday, 31-13. We'll talk more two-tone blue towards the end of the show. But Vanderbilt with a huge win, 31-24 over LSU this past Saturday. And game day coming to town as a top 10 Vanderbilt takes on 15th ranked Missouri. We're taking your thoughts for who should be the guest picker on College Game Day on Saturday morning on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is the number. Huffy and Dixon asked who was the guest picker in 08. It was Kenny Chesney, country music star, which that is a direction they could go that I didn't really think of. And I know people mentioned Dierks Bentley because of the Vandy tie, but you know, they could just go with a random country music star like Lainey Wilson or
Laney Wilson's an LSU fan, though.
Right. Well, they've done that before. Like, I mean, Theo Vaughn was, I mean, I don't know if he's a quote unquote Vandy fan, but he's at every single Vanderbilt game. And Jelly Roll's not technically a Georgia fan, I don't think, but he was in Athens last week. So I don't know. Colin says Chris Stapleton studied at Vandy. That could be an option. I kind of like Stapleton. Scott says, not my choice, but Willie Geist has to be in the conversation. We got that from 9407 as well. So the Today Show host, Willie Geist, I think that's a good option too. Although today is NBC, correct? Good Morning America is the ABC one. So you wonder if they're going to cross wires like that. You have to take that stuff into account too of they want to promote stuff within Disney and ABC if they're going to go to that realm. So I don't know if they would pull Willie Geist over from the Today Show. Devin and Dixon said Jelly Roll should be the guest picker, but Jelly Roll was the guest picker last Saturday when Georgia took on Ole Miss. I did want to go back here because Scott on our text line, if I can go find it, Scott, how am I missing this? Our good friend Scott, who we talked about his tailgate all week long, or all day long. There it is. Scott was the one who actually sent in Willie Geist. So Scott had his 3 a.m. tailgate on Saturday, and he sent in pictures with, bacon on the griddle and pancakes. And I mean, the sun is not out in any of these pictures. They've got the TV hooked up. So I'm sure Scott will be out there early for College Game Day, as you got to start camping out. You got to camp out for it, but appreciate Scott sending the pictures. We did ask for those on Friday when he said he was waking up at 2 a.m. to go out and tailgate, so appreciate that. Damian in Nashville says, how about Skip Bayless? And,
no,
we run into the same issue of Willie Geist of, they work for the rival. They work for another company. Usually you don't see the crossover like that. And, Skip Bayless, not exactly the most loved person at ESPN. I get it. He's a Vandy fan, but I don't think it's going to happen. 5890 says Darius Garland from Nashville played at Vandy. I don't mind Darius Garland, and he has been around Vanderbilt a lot more often lately. He was at the Utah State game, I want to say. Maybe it was Georgia State. And he also has been around the men's basketball program since Mark Byington took over, but Garland only played a few games before he got injured at Vanderbilt. Keyshawn Vaughn is another example. I believe he was at the game on Saturday too. I think he did like the alumni of the game, fire up the crowd kind of thing. So Keyshawn Vaughn from Nashville, played at Pearl Cone at Vandy, Super Bowl champ. Maybe that's an option. 5890 also says Nate has done it before. Have Candace Story lead, Tim Corbin, Will Purdue, all good options. I don't know if they go with the athletic director though. Typically that's not.
Tim Corbin would be cool.
Tim Corbin would be good.
Will Purdue, yeah.
I think Tim Corbin or a former baseball player would be good because that is
Cornette.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, the Cornette contest. I wouldn't mind that. There are plenty of NBA players out there who went to Vanderbilt. Adam in Portland says it's going to be Nate. His popularity is through the roof, and he loves Vandy and would make it fun. That's what I'm thinking. It's the obvious one, right? It's Nate Bargatze. He's the most well-known Vandy fan out there. And when you come back to Nashville for the first time in 17 years, he's a guy who isn't just a bandwagon. Like, that dude's a Vanderbilt fan. I think it makes the most sense. Chris in Nashville. I did say you could send us wrong answers also. He says the guest picker for the Vandy game should either be James Franklin or Jerry Stackhouse. Sadly, I don't think either of them would say yes. And maybe Franklin would. Maybe Franklin would come back on. Luso in Nolansville says, who is the best Vanderbilt player in history? He should be the picker. Yeah. If you're looking for former alums,
Kyle Shermer.
Yeah, get Kyle Shermer back in here. Cutler's been suggested. David Price, I think, and as Luso and Nolansville just said that, I think David Price would be a good choice. That is a well-known superstar baseball player who could step in and immediately you get the fan base would love it. And I think national audiences would be like, yeah, that's a good pick. Greg in the Burrow says WWE star Sheamus or Drew McIntyre both reside in Nashville. ESPN just started a multi-year partnership with WWE. That's fair. Again, as we've been talking about, like they want to promote stuff going on within the ESPN, ABC, Disney realm. So I think it's possible that they go for basically just a PR stunt right that. Here's Devin and Dixon. This is an interesting one. And I don't think they would do it because I think you'd want to keep it Vanderbilt focused, not Nashville focused. But Devin and Dixon says, if we are going with massive Nashville sports heroes, why not Pecorine if he's still in town? I don't think they'll go outside of the Vandy sphere and just go wide to Nashville. Because like Kenny Chesney, isn't he a Tennessee fan? I mean, or no, he's a Georgia fan.
I thought he was Georgia.
He's from Knoxville, though. So, like, doesn't really have a tie to Vanderbilt, but they just said, oh, it's Nashville. Let's just get whoever the biggest country star is right now. So I don't think it's going to be somebody from outside the Vanderbilt realm. But if you did go to Nashville, I mean, a Pecorine would make a whole lot of sense. Bobby Johnson, Mason from Centerville, says, that's a good point. He was the coach the last time that game day came to Nashville in 2008. So maybe that's an option. Continue to send these in. Plenty of good options for a guest picker for Vanderbilt on Saturday. Just awesome to see the national spotlight shining on what this Vanderbilt team has done. And you mentioned it with the AP poll, jumping 7 spots. I think a lot of those voters were in the wait and see mode with Vandy because South Carolina obviously hasn't turned out to be very good. Virginia Tech hasn't turned out to be very good. And you lose to Alabama. I think a lot of voters were just saying, oh, well, let's see how they do against a top 10 team in LSU. And Vandy, they won by 7, but they controlled that game from the word go. And I think the AP voters finally said, all right, yeah, Vandy's legit. And now you got game day coming, a chance on a national stage. It'll be a 2:30 kick on ESPN. And you get the opportunity to go show in front of another national audience that this team can be a college football playoff team at the end of the year against Missouri, who has been good, but also has, I mean, they could have lost to Auburn easily down on the Plains this weekend. So going to be a very, very fun Saturday on West End as game days in town and Vandy can get to 7-1. Couple more answers from our text line about guest pickers. Lenny says, Ricky Bobby. Have they done a character before? Like, I know when Anchorman came out, Will Ferrell went and hosted SportsCenter as, why am I blanking on his character's name?
Which movie?
Stay Classy, San Diego. Anchorman. I have watched this movie like 1,000 times, and I don't know why I can't remember the name. Ron Burgundy. Total brain fart on my part. Ron Burgundy, the legend of Ron Burgundy. Stay Classy, San Diego. I know he hosted SportsCenter as Ron Burgundy. Maybe he comes on as Ricky Bobby at some point. I don't know if that would fit Vanderbilt. Ricky says they just had Jelly Roll on for Georgia. It doesn't have to be anyone that went to or is a Vandy fan. I understand that point, but with Georgia and Alabama, who get game day every single year, you kind of have to get creative, right? Like you can't just have the same person every single time. And there aren't a whole lot of high profile, fans of these SEC schools that are just out there. Huge Georgia fan, huge Alabama fan. You got to mix it up. And Jelly Roll, I didn't know that really fit. 0749 says Kenny Chesney is big orange all the way. I knew he was from Knoxville. I didn't know who he actually cheered for. 1882 says, and don't let anyone in the pit if they don't have Vandy stuff on. Keep the attention-seeking orange wearers out of there. Yeah, I really do hope that Vandy fans and students show up. They've done a great job at the games getting into the student section, and I hope that it's a good atmosphere for game day on Saturday. Last one on the text line is a funny one to end with. Paul says Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman, and their lawyers should be the guest picker on Saturday. That's a funny one. I saw Keith Urban played in Nashville this past weekend, and he asked a girl in the crowd what her name was, and she goes, "You're not gonna like it." And he goes, "Why wouldn't I like it?" And he's like, Nicole was her name. So
Oh.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Cannot wait for what is sure to be a great weekend on West End. Game day in town for the first time since 2008. And Vandy, another opportunity against a top 15 team. I mean, you're seeing 10 next to their name. You could move on up and have a single digit next to your name if you beat Missouri on Saturday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take a quick break. We're going to get back into the Titans to wrap up the show. Titans falling 31-13 to the Patriots yesterday, now 1-6 on the year. Are we ever going to see this team put together a consistent 60 minutes? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. This song was blaring through First Bank Stadium after. Got to give credit to the Vandy in-game experience marketing team. The Nick Saban clip after beating Alabama last year of the only place in the SEC that's not hard to play is Vanderbilt, and just playing that over and over, and then calling Baton Rouge right as the clock hit 0.
Vanderbilt keeps receipts.
They do, and I don't know if no one outside of the stadium would have seen it, but they have this picture of the old Mr. C mascot that is just so scary. He's got eyes the size of softballs and a giant mustache, and they've started putting that on the video board as the opposing team's kickers are lining up for field goals. They got to give credit. The in-game experience for Vandy has been awesome the last couple of years. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday. Couple more segments. Chasing Big Joe coming up at the top of the hour. They'll be up there at the Mint Gaming Hall at Kentucky Downs, I believe, as we've got 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. Let's get back into the Titans. 31-13 loss to Mike Vrabel and the Patriots yesterday. And the issue continues to be consistency. And that's not just Cam Ward. It's not just the offensive line. It's not just the wide receivers, not just the defense. It's everybody from the coaches down to the 53rd player on the roster. There is just not enough consistency with this team. They can put together a drive or two where you look like a competent team, but in order to win football games in the NFL, you have to play more than 20 minutes of good football. And can you think of a time, Parker, throughout this season that the Titans have played more than 15 to 20 minutes of good football consecutively?
Nope. And when I saw the Titans go up 13-10 and were playing a pretty good throughout the most of the first half, nobody in the press box blinked, because we know the history of this team. And granted, they do have an interim, but we knew that we probably weren't going to see that offense in the second half.
No. And that it's frustrating because you just wonder, are they not making the adjustments necessary to sustain that type of success? Because it looked good. That the back-to-back plays to Chimdike, that's how you want Chimdike to be used. Use his speed. He was drafted because he was fast. That is the main reason why you draft Chimdike, was because of his legit NFL speed. And they finally used it to their advantage to make plays down the field. And then the fumble from Cam Ward, where again, no one is even near him and he drops it. Again, that you may not win the game if that doesn't happen, but the game's not over right then and there like it was as soon as that scoop and score happened. The offense, either they're not making the adjustments necessary to sustain this success, or it's way too easy for the opposing team to make the adjustments necessary to stop them. And then I guess you look back at the Cardinals game and they finally found a rhythm, but you couldn't carry anything over to the next week against the Raiders. I don't know where this team can go, because the offense is just, they've been anemic for 90% of the time they've been out there. And the defense, there's a decent chance you don't have Jeff Simmons next week. I mean, hamstring injuries are not typically 1 week in your back, especially for the bigger guys. So for Jeff Simmons not being out there, I said early in the show, that defense looked lost without their big playmaker on the field. This could get ugly quick, especially with the Colts. I mean, the way they're playing, blowing out the Chargers yesterday, 14.5-point favorites on Sunday in Indianapolis. That's how bad things are for the Titans, that a Colts team that at the very least heading into the year didn't have a whole lot of expectations. We're 7 weeks in and you're 2 touchdown underdogs to the Indianapolis Colts. And honestly, would it shock me if they lose by 3 touchdowns? No, because they just cannot find any level of consistency at any point outside of special teams. The special teams is the only place where you can look and say, yeah, they've been pretty consistently good this year. Joey Sly finally got healthy and looked good yesterday. He made that 52-yarder through the wind, I believe. They were heading that direction. So special teams, props to Bones Fossil for all the great work that he's done since coming in here. Everybody else needs to be way better. And is that going to happen this year? I don't know. But I'd just like to see one full game where you're like, hey, they're trending in the right direction, not just a half, not just a quarter. Play, it doesn't have to be 60 minutes of good football, but play 50, 45. They're playing like 15 to 20 minutes of decent football at a time and then just completely folding back into this team that just gets dominated by any other kind of NFL team that they face. It's tough. I mean, I don't think we're going to see that flip this year, but it would be really nice to see this team at least show that they're making strides to show some more consistency. But so far, there's been none of it through the first 7 weeks.
Yeah, and even in their lone win against the Cardinals, it was one good quarter that the Cardinals handed to you, and credit to you for capitalizing on it at least, because you didn't do that against the Broncos. But it has been way too much hot and cold, and even the hot has been very, very, very limited. So I honestly don't even know the answer. I don't understand if it is just the defensive adjustments are too much for you, or why you go away from certain things that go well. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling because I thought the offensive game plan was better early on. And that it was good to see them play off of Cam Ward's strengths. They did exactly what me and TD have been talking about. Maybe not exactly, but you start in that early run formation, and on the first play, you boot Cam out and you have him hit Gunnar Helm for a first down. Boom, you're in rhythm. Like Nick Holtz talked about this week, they asked him why not go with more tempo consistently. And they said, you have to earn the right to go and play with tempo, because playing with tempo and going 3 and out in 12 seconds doesn't exactly help the team at all. They were able on the first play of the game, boot out, Cam Ward makes the play to Gunnar Helm, first down. You go and get 3 on that drive. Then the next drive, you find your speedy playmaker twice, ending up with a long touchdown. It looked better. And I don't know if that fumble kind of just threw a wrench into everything they wanted to do offensively, because I mean, you kind of had to get out of your game plan at that point, right? You're down 31-13. It's not like you can play status quo, business as usual when you're down 18 late in the third quarter. You got to go out and you got to try and put points on the board quick. And the Patriots at that point can sit back in some soft zones, and there's not a whole lot you can do. The first half was solid. They could have been more aggressive at the end of the first half. You need to see it happen for a full game where Cam Ward, he completes 10 of his first 11 passes. That's great. But then you start to see those issues pop back up of him missing receivers behind them and fumbling the ball, taking sacks. You got to be able to figure out what worked for those first 3 or 4 drives of the game and bottle that up and make the adjustments when the defense adjusts to you, layer these plays off each other, and you can have an offense that isn't scoring 96 points through the first 7 weeks when the next closest team is like 110. It's been bad. And the Titans offense, I don't know if they're going to be capable of putting together a complete game the rest of the year. I don't know if I'd pick them to win a game the rest of the year, but something has to change, and they've got to start showing some progress, because it can't just be a waste of 3 months after you fire Brian Callahan. Like you have an interim coach, but this season has to lead into next year with some sort of positive momentum where you aren't thinking, man, we had the first pick last year. We might have the first pick this year. Heck, we could have the first pick next year. You got to start showing some progress.
Got to. And this season is kind of a wash just because of firing and how depleted the roster is. But right now, fans don't have any type of hope really to go off of. I mean, you hope that Cam Ward figures things out and is your future franchise quarterback. But outside of that, I mean, what is there to be hopeful about?
Yeah, it's tough. I think Justin on our text line puts it pretty perfectly. It wasn't even a whole half of football. They looked competent offensively. They had 3 good drives, and right before halftime, they just gave up. Is it coaching, the team construction, or front office goofs? This team is so hard to watch for even the most diehard fan. And he's exactly right. And I think it's all 3. I think the coaching isn't good enough, the players aren't good enough, and the people picking the players aren't good enough. That has to change in a hurry because, again, You've got that new stadium opening up in 16 months, right? February 2027. First game will be in just under 2 years there. This fan base is going to start having some serious apathy towards this team if you don't start winning soon. They've won 10 games since November of 2022. That's not enough. You've got to start showing some progress, or I think you might start losing some of these fans for good. Like, I think there's still a way to get this fan base back right now, but if it keeps trending this way, you might start to lose some of these fans permanently, and that's not what you want when you're opening a multi-billion-dollar stadium across the river. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We got one more segment on this Monday. We'll hand it off to Chase and Big Joe coming up at the top of the hour. We'll continue to talk Titans on the other side. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025. Monday Night Football tonight, we got a double header. You'll hear Chris Stapleton, who we talked about it, maybe guest picker for Vandy on Saturday. It's definitely possible. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game, finishing up the show. Chase and Big Joe will take it after us coming up at noon. You got Bucks and Lions. That should be a fun one. Two teams in contention in the NFC, and then you've got Houston and Seattle. 9 o'clock kickoff, Central Time. 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock East Coast time.
I'll try my best to stay up for it.
I will not be staying up for that. I promise you that.
I need to probably make the wise adult move and go to bed at like half.
Yes, I think the better game tonight is definitely Bucks-Lions, even though a lot of injuries on both sides in that game. Brian Branch also suspended for Detroit, but I don't need to stay up for all of Texans Seahawks. That'll be a first half kind of game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Did want to mention too, just got this notice that Diego Pavia has been named SEC Offensive Player of the Week. Jordan White for Vanderbilt named SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. Surprised it's not Cade McConnell with that rep that he took. Did you see that, Parker?
Did I see it?
Yeah.
I absolutely saw
Vandy's, I believe he's the strong guard, and just, wrecking ball through the defensive end and the defensive tackle for LSU on a rep on set. Maybe the best offensive line rep of the year from Cade McConnell on Saturday. That is, that's going to get some offensive line coaches going in the film room, I'm sure. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Last call for phones. Wrapping up on the Titans here. Chimdike maybe is what we all were hoping Xavier Restrepo could be, as like an influx of playmaking ability to this Titans offense. Restrepo did not come up off the practice squad this week, despite Calvin Ridley being out and Bryce Oliver being out. They brought up Mason Kinsey instead because Mason Kinsey is a better special teams player. And with Bryce Oliver out, that's what you needed. But I'm wondering if using Chimdike differently can have the effect that all of us were hoping a Xavier Restrepo might. And it's a more talented player in Chimdike, a faster player, and a guy who has had some flashes at the NFL level. So I would love to see Chimdike become a much more prevalent factor in this offense. He had 4 catches in the first half yesterday. And it wasn't screens. It wasn't screens. They were actually using him downfield. That is something that has to continue. I need Chimdike more involved in this offense. Alec Iamaner, I still think is a talented player, but things have cooled off with Alec Iamaner over the last couple of weeks. He's shown some of the rookie stuff that you'll get, some drops and some mistakes from Alec Iamaner. I think Chimdike has some juice as a returner, as a receiver. That guy needs to be more focused, more of a focus for this team in the downfield passing game, because right now you don't have anybody with that type of speed that Chimdike's got.
No, and I thought when they ran that stupid little reverse flick to him, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It looked like it was going backwards for 7 yards.
I know. I'm like, here we go again. We've tried this, and it has not worked. But then they started using them in different ways, and then on the crosser play action, that was beautiful.
That
was beautiful.
A beautifully designed play, and it was funny from my angle in the stadium. I was up in the nosebleeds. Like, sorry, I'm not spending over $100 a ticket to go see this team right now, but I went up in the nosebleeds, and from my angle, it was kind of perfect along the trajectory of the throw from Ward to DK. And you could just see it developing of DK fakes to the outside and then hard back towards that left pylon. Ball was right on him. That's what this team needs. Because again, we've talked about it throughout the season. This team is not talented enough to sustain drives right now, especially on third downs with no Calvin Ridley right now. Like, where are you going with that football? Maybe Chimdike is the answer, but it is it's exciting to see the young guys at least coming on. I thought Gunnar Helm made some plays yesterday. That's what you have to focus on the rest of the year if you're a Titans fan, because there's not going to be a lot of wins. The rest of this season is about hoping that the young pieces that you've acquired over the last 2 years continue to develop. That's J.C. Latham, who has not been good enough when he's been healthy this year. You need to see him be better. You need Tavondre Sweat to continue to develop now that he's back on the field. You need Cedric Gray, who we talked about earlier, to continue to play good football. And all of your rookies, Ward, Oladejo when he gets back off IR, if he gets back off IR, Iamaner, DK, Helm, all these guys, that's what you should be focusing on because, again, the results the rest of the year probably aren't going to be good, but you hope that you have added some pieces of a core that you can build around if you can trade out of a high pick and get an extra first, an extra second, an extra third that can accelerate this rebuild. Those picks are going to be great, but if you want to be good soon, these young guys who are here now have to be better. And I think that's all you can really hope for the last 10 games of the year, because outside of the Saints game, I don't see a whole lot of wins available on this schedule for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I'm looking at the schedule right now, and I see the Browns game on December 7th, maybe.
Well,
but they just got to win yesterday.
Look what they just did to the Dolphins. Yeah. I think Mike McDaniel, if he's not, it's funny. I'm looking at First Take right now. Cam Newton's talking about it. What should happen first? McDaniel fired or Tua benched? Like that team's in a very similar spot to the Titans. At the very least, the Titans aren't paying their quarterback $50 million.
Yeah, that's a bad situation in Miami. And then you have the Saints game. That's at home, second to last week of the regular season. That's it. Those are the only possible wins that I see on the schedule.
Yep. And your tankathon.com might be a frequently visited website in the Nashville market for the next 3 months, because it's looking like Titans and Jets are in a tanking war. Jets want whatever quarterback's available. Titans want the right to trade that pick to somebody who needs a quarterback. Let's see. I'll visit tankathon.com right now because we are at that point. We're not in draft season yet, but so you got 5 teams with 1 loss. The Jets are the only winless team right now. Miami's 1-6. New Orleans is 1-6. Baltimore is 1-5. Baltimore, barring Lamar Jackson getting shut down for the season, they're not going to be in this mix for a top 5 pick. So I think those are your 4 teams. Maybe you could throw Vegas in there, maybe New York, maybe Cleveland. But I think those 4 teams, Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Titans, that's what we'll be looking at the rest of the year. See if the Titans can put themselves in a position to have a high pick and hopefully get a large return in a trade. That'll about do it for us on this Monday. Plenty more Titans reaction, Vanderbilt reaction coming on throughout the day here on 102.5 The Game. Chase and Big Joe coming up next, DVD at 3. Tomorrow, we'll continue to recap the Titans' loss to Mike Vrabel and the Patriots and get ready for a big weekend of college football. That'll do it for us. For Parker Kelly, I'm Jake Lyman. Chase and Big Joe coming up next here on 102.5 The Game.